Oh man. Mhm. Let's get after it. Apparently, there was a lot of signal calls while I was asleep. I'm going to start with Euro versus Polish Nati. Check to see if this is on our list. It is not, so it won't be entering. And we have XRP versus Tether. This time targeting 2.085. This is actually a spot trade. All right, risk is 2.29. Actually, that can be shorter. Risk is 3.78. Entry at 28.12. Stop at 33.31. Take profit at 2.085. Next up, we've got 1 inch versus Tether. That is in our sell list. It's going to be targeting 0.064. This is 0.45. Entry at 1774. Stop at 2029. All right, there's 1 inch. Here we go. 1 inch versus tether. Entry price is 0.1774. Stop loss is 0.2029 for 255 pips. Take profit is 0.064 for 1,134 pips. And a risk to reward ratio of 4.45. 1 minute for some housekeeping. All right, that's taken care of. Let's move on. And we've got SERB versus Tether, targeting 3740. Entries at 4051. Stop is at 4158. Take profits at 3740. All right, we got SERB versus Tether. Entry price is 0.4051. Stop loss is 0.4158 for 107 pips. Take profit is 0.3740 for 311 pips. And a risk reward ratio of 2.91. And we've got XRP versus Tether, targeting 2.0863. Stop. 7. Got entry at 2.3255. Got stop at 3288. Oh, 2769. Knew that wasn't making any sense. We got to take profit at 2.0863. We got the euro to the Swedish krona. That's already taken off on us. Pretty close to hitting take profit. We have LQTY. That's targeting 424. Entry at 495. Stop at 513. Take profit at 424. All right, LQTY versus Tether. Entry is 0.495. Stop loss is 0.513 for 18 pips. Take profit at 0.424 for 71 pips. Risk to reward ratio of 3.94. Make sure I didn't miss anything. Missed a serve. There we go. And arc. CKB has moved on us a bit, so I'm not going to bother with that. Stop loss on J press pound. We're not in platinum for the week. United States dollar versus the Swiss franc is taking off on us. We got another one on T-Fuel. This one's a 1 hour targeting 1420. Interest 2172. Stop is 2312. Take profit is 1420. Moving on, we got GLM. We're already in it. Not going to enter it again. You've got RPL. It's already moved on us. We're not in platinum. HG and micro HG has already moved on us. We're already in Kaya. GBP NOC has already moved on us. GM hit top, take profit. Now, Mito. Interesting enough, this is a 2 hour. Just saying this is going to go negative, so we're going to target as low as we can go. We're going to target to 0.01. So if it goes to 0, we get all the profit. So that is what we're going to do there. And it's going to be 5.71. Your entry is going to be at 86.72. Your stop's going to be at 10,015. That's going to be 431.43. And next up, we've got Mito versus Tether. Entry price is 0.08672. Stop loss is 0.10015 for 1,343 pips. Take profit is 0.01 for 7,672 pips. And a risk reward ratio of 5.71. And we already looked at Great British Pound versus Norwegian Krone. We have Basic Attention Coin that already hit take profit. We have ZM1 that hit stop loss. We have the Great British Pound versus the that's not on our sell list. We have the Great British Pound versus the Australian dollar. That is on our sell list. I'm going to take this targeting 1.99929. And risk here is going to be 6.87. We have entry at 2.01729. We have stop at 2.01991. That's going to be for 26 pips. I'm going to take profit at 1.99929 for 180 pips. The Great British Pound Sterling versus the Australian dollar. Entry price is 2.01729. Stop loss is 2.01991 for 26 pips. Take profit is 1.99929 for 180 pips. Risk reward ratio is 6.87. We have the euro versus the Hungarian forint that already hit take profit. We have 6B1, which is the micro, which is the futures on Great British Pound Sterling. Not on our sell list. We won't be taking that. That also means we don't have micro 6B1. We have the euro versus the Canadian dollar. Not on our sell list. We have the Great British Pound versus the US dollar. Not on our sell list. We have the United States dollar versus the Swiss franc that hits stop loss. But is it on our buy list? Because if it is, we can re-enter as an advanced entry, and it is beautiful. But it looks like we're already in it, so I'm not going to re-enter that a second time. We already looked at M6B1. All right, 6S1. We're already in that trade. We have comp versus tether. Again, already in that trade. And United States dollar to Swiss franc is almost a take profit. There's really no point in even looking at that right now. We have euro versus odd. Not on our sell list. We have high versus tether. Not on the sell list. We have power versus tether. Is on the sell list. Gotta take that on a sell to 0.0928. Risk here is 3.13. Your entry price is going to be 953. Your stop is going to be 961. Take profit is going to be 928. All right, we got power versus tether. PLWR. Entry price is 0.0953. Stop loss is 0.0961 for 8 pips. Take profit is 0.0928 for 25 pips. We have a risk reward ratio of 3.13. Moving on, we have Great British Pound, Australian dollar. We're already in that. We're already in WIF versus tether. Close to take profit. We're not in 6B1. We looked at that already. RPL is already half the way to take profit, so we're not entering that. United States dollar versus Norwegian krone is already taken off on us. We got stop loss hit on Australian versus Swiss franc. We already looked at United States dollar versus Swedish krona. That's taken off as well. It is going to call the signal at 9 o'clock, so we'll keep that in queue just to see what it looks like. Gold is not on our sell list for the month. For the week rather. We're already in that trade. We're already in micro gold. We're already in gold. I don't believe Euro Danish krone is on our list. It is not. So we're not taking that. We have take profit hit on Euro versus the Swedish krona. We're already in GBP versus Australian dollar. And we have take profit smashed on Tron versus Tether for 30 pips. Here's a take profit smash. This is Tron versus the United States dollar. Took that during the London session this morning and already hit take profit for 30 pips. So that will be win number 1022 for the year. Yeah, it's already 50% of the way to take profit. There's no point in taking that. So we're all caught up for now. Let me find that information on Tron. All right, so we didn't do bad. Made 20.89% off of that trade. And we got Tron versus Tether. Let's see. What the heck is going on here? There we go. All right, so now that we're all caught up, it's 9:03 a.m. So we don't have any new signals coming out for the top of the hour. Next ticker is at 9:10 a.m. for the futures market and 9:15 a.m. for the market proper. We work off a 15-minute pacing where trading view will go through on 444 assets and kind of determine whether or not we have opportunities to get in on a buy or sell basis. You see, I have these divided up into different series of asset classes. BTCC is simply a new broker that we're using that has additional cryptocurrency perpetual pairs. We trade commodities, crypto perpetuals, crypto spot, major and minor Forex currencies, exotic Forex currencies, world indices, futures, and stocks. So a little bit of waiting to be done into the next ticker. Again, we called a metric ton of calls already. I would recommend you take yourself abreast of those. For those of you joining us on Twitter, I'm not so sure there's a chat function that exists there. We're just dropping in these calls. I think I'm going to have to start putting that stuff in myself. Matter of fact, I am. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and do the liberty of dropping those in so that you guys can get those. 1 second here. All right, so far this morning, I think the first call for C. Yeah, C was the first call. So I'll start posting these in the chat there. That way you guys can have them. There's the first call. Second. Third. This is XRP versus USD. Then we have 1 inch versus Tether. And these are posting to my profile on Twitter. So if you're subscribed to my profile, you'll start seeing these calls that are posted for you guys. Let's see, we've got L2QY versus Tether. Wish I had known I had done this, needed to do this during the London session because I called out 22 signals this morning. A lot of those have already moved on, so it's kind of no point of dropping those right now, but I'll make sure that these are properly on Twitter from now on. There's Mito. We have Great British Pound versus Australian Dollar, which we just called. This is a massive pullback, so great entry to get into. We have Power versus Tether. And then we just had a take profit smashed on Tron versus USDT. So let me go ahead and drop that as well. There we go. So that's everything so far for the New York session. All right, here we go. It is 9:10, so there's nothing new coming out of the futures market. About 4.5 minutes from now is the next ticker at 9:15 a.m. Central Standard Time. What's going to happen then is TradingView is going to go through all of the assets that we do trade on this giant list on a 15-minute time frame and determine if we have buy or sell opportunities to enter the market. We'll evaluate each one to make sure it's right, and then we'll hop into the trade. I'm the Pit Messiah, your host for the Quiet Storm Live trading session for New York. I do this every weekday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, from 2 a.m. to 4 a.m. Central Standard Time for the London session, and from 8:30 to 10 a.m. every day for the New York session. To give you an idea of where we currently are, this is since February the 3rd of this year, which is the first day I traded this year. We're at 1,122 wins versus 847 losses, win percentage of 56.98%. Total pits won 4,468,134 and counting. Let's check out Bitcoin and see what's going on here. We've got a double buy order block at around 1,300, providing support for price. Looks like we are trapped in a bit of consolidation between two order blocks. But if price does rally and break through 104, 100 and change, we're going to probably go up a couple of thousand points. Let's go up on a longer time frame. Unless you've been sitting under a rock, you know that Bitcoin dropped all the way down to 98,944.36. This is on the heels of it coming from a different pivot. So if you haven't seen the technicals behind here, the R1 is at 123.205.09. Of course, broke through that to hit an all-time high just over 156,000, and then took off all the way down to S1 at 99,005.46. It attempted to break that level and could not, and has rebounded since then. So what I think will happen today is it's going to give us another retrace, then go up and make a higher low, and then it's going to start to rally up the price to 112.602, test this level, and then recover to 123 and beyond. We have had, I think, a liquidation of $1.6 trillion for the crypto market proper since this move. It's a lot of money. So essentially what you have are the influx of institutional traders driving down the market and liquidity pools, then using the money that they gathered from people who were retail traders or that were betting the wrong direction and pushing price higher. So we'll start to see smoother pumps out of the crypto market from now on, and they're going to be less volatile. There will be a massive influx of liquidity to the market across all markets once the U.S. federal government opens. It's looking like it's unlikely that's going to happen this year because both the Republicans and the Democrats are entrenched. But we may get some surprises here. As to those of you that are holding physical cryptocurrencies, here's basically the theory behind that. You want a decline in Bitcoin price, followed by a decline in Bitcoin dominance, followed by a climb in Ethereum versus Bitcoin. Why? because Ethereum is the primary cryptocurrency that's used as gas to purchase altcoins. So when you have a decline in Bitcoin price, a decline in Bitcoin dominance, and a rise in Ethereum versus Bitcoin, it is almost always followed with a rise in cryptocurrency and altcoins. So in other words, when you have any other combination, in this case, we have Bitcoin that's declining, Bitcoin dominance is up, Ethereum versus Bitcoin is down, you see altcoins are getting hit. It only works with that specific combination for some reason. And it's been that way in every single mega cycle that we've had, dating back 20 years. And anyway, we're going to sit on Bitcoin looking at the 15-minute for right now. While we wait for the next signal. Now, it's 9:16, mighty quiet. So there are probably going to be no signals from the 9:15 ticker. The next opportunities will be at 9:25 a.m. Central Standard Time. That's for the futures market. And 9:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. That's for everything else. In the meantime, for those of you that took the trades on either XRP versus the United States dollar or XRP versus Tether, we are in profit in all 4 of those trades. Congratulations in advance. If I'm not mistaken, we do have commentary coming from the governor of the Royal Bank of Canada pretty soon. Yep, at the mid of the hour. We did get a rate decision on the Great British Pound Sterling at 6 o'clock this morning. They did not move interest rates as expected. So you're probably going to see some adjustment in Great British Pound pairs. Just be careful there, particularly if you're trading the euro versus the Great British Pound. Other than that, there's no real major news, except that starting at the closing bell of the London Stock Exchange at 10 a.m., we have 6 of the members of the Federal Reserve that are going to be speaking today. That's going to have an effect on all USD pairs. So look for a movement in commodities, particularly silver, gold, platinum, palladium, and copper. Also look for a movement on US crude oil and all your major pairs. So your Australian dollar versus the US dollar, Canadian versus the US dollar, so on and so forth. Those are likely to move as these comments come out. My sinking suspicion is they did not all agree to lower interest rates, and some of them, even though they may have voted for it, felt that interest rates should have stayed the same at 2.25% as opposed to going to 2.00%. And to be quite honest, they waited too long to change interest rates, which is jobs, because what companies are doing instead of hiring people, they're offloading people and buffering their balance sheets going into Q4. All right, so we got GLM versus Tether. I don't know what's going on there. It's calling a 1 hour and it hit take profit on the 1 hour setup. We didn't take that one, so it doesn't matter. About 9.5 minutes to the half of the hour, 9:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. 30 minutes before the closing bell of the London Stock Exchange. Couple of 100 points in a few minutes. Stuff that. Okay, still rallying up. Don't think it's going to be enough, though. And there's a sell fair value gap that it can fill at 103.1. That's probably where it's headed. My heavens for Twitch. Gosh. About 5 minutes to the middle of the hour. All right. So it looks like the Federal Aviation Administration is slashing air traffic. So if you're attempting to travel between now and over the holidays, provided the federal government does not reopen, yeah, you're going to have a hell of a wait trying to get on an airplane going anywhere. It might serve you to drive or just forego traveling altogether if you can help it. If I wasn't getting paid, I wouldn't show up to work either. That would suck. All right, we'll switch to a live trade. We've got Ripple, and it is kicking butt and taking names. So we entered this pretty smoothly. We have blue, gray, blue, aqua gray. But if you go to the time frames, this is definitely a sell for the week. Blue, gray, aqua, that's a downtrend on the 4-hour. Blue, gray, aqua is a downtrend on the 1-hour. So when we look at it on lower time frames, we're confident in entering it without having any issues. This was a 30-minute confirmation, and it is smoking. We're almost at 50% to take profit right now. We also have a 1-hour entry, but it's the 30-minute that we're taking care of at the moment. Congratulations to those of you that hopped in that bad boy. You still have time to get into the 1-hour, even though your entry won't be as well. For this drop to 2.0863, if you're going to take Ripple on a sell. Let me slow down. Again, if you're going to take Ripple versus Tether, you can take this on a sell on a 1-hour confirmation to 2.0863. It hasn't moved that much. You'll still be able to make some profit. You just won't have the same wasted reward as when we entered the trade, because we're already in profit for those of you that were here when I called it. If you've been struggling a bit with your trading journey, if you need a little boost in profit, if you're having trouble making your little goal for the week, this is a trade to do it on. I put a Ripple versus Tether on a sell, hit 2.0863 as your take profit, sit and wait. Congratulations in advance. A note, Ripple, just like Bitcoin and Ethereum, is more heavily weighted than other cryptocurrencies. It's about 10 times weighted. So a 0.01 on Ripple is the same as a 0.10 on most other cryptocurrencies. So be careful on your leverage. You still need enough margin in your account to hold the trade open until you're in profit for equity. It's now 9:30 a.m. Got another minute and a half in our window for TradingView to go through these assets. If we don't get anything for 9:30, the next checker is going to be at 9:40 for the futures market, and 9:45 a.m. the quarter of the hour for the rest of the market. So approaching 50% to take profit. Very smooth movement. All right, we're now at 50% to take profit. You can move your stop loss to entry price to lock in the risk-free trade on Ripple versus the United States dollar on the 30-minute. Again, congratulations. All right, we have possible tickers for the futures market in less than 5 minutes. Looks like we're finally getting a sell-off on precious metals. Believe we're still in a buy on natural gas, and it reversed on us, but it's decently in profit. It's pretty heavily weighted. Uh, what is that? OG, which we're not in. Natural gas, which we are in. That's in profit. And micro natural gas, also in profit. So we tripled up on natural gas. All right, got an alert on the United States dollar versus Norwegian krone. Let's take a look to see what's going on here. Take profit smashed on a 15-minute entry. The trade proper is now in profit again. And looks like it's going to hit take profit as fast as it's moving. That's pretty crazy. Let's go down to the 30-minute to track it. Looks like it caused a larger signal to 10.29195. So we're likely to get this little 362 pips real quick. That means the United States dollar is rallying. That explains why gold is getting hit. But DXY is still negative. And it broke the bottom of the Asian range. So this is a little strange. This might have something to do with all the commentary we're going to get from the members of the U.S. Federal Reserve System. So I guess that kind of makes sense in context. Six minutes left to go to the quarter of the hour. I will explain why it's hanging up on me. But it is over a buy order block, so just push through that. Well, markets are still getting blasted. Three minutes to the quarter of the hour. Alert. This is on VET versus Tether. Let's take a look. We have another take profit smash, this time on VET versus Tether for 62 pips. Congratulations to those that took the trade in the London session. Here's a take profit smash, this time on VET versus Tether for 62 pips. And that is win number 1,123 for the year. That brings us up to 4,468,196 pips won year to date. See, Ripple is the one that's most in profits. Let's go back to taking a look at that. XRP. Now about 60% of the way to profit. At its current speed, this should hit take profit sometime before 4 p.m. Central Standard Time today. So you shouldn't have to worry about any sort of carriage fees for this. Trading it over a day. We also have an entry on XRP versus USD, if I'm not mistaken. And wonder why I forgot to put this on the list. Yeah, we're in XRP versus USD as well. So definitely doubling up. It's obviously categorized wrong. So let me move this over. All right, we got just over 2 minutes left to go to 9:50 a.m., which means we're going to get tickers for the futures market at 9:55. And then we have the top of the hour at 10 a.m., the closing bell of the London Stock Exchange. So for those of you not really aware of how this works, there is an overlay of the New York Stock Exchange and the London Stock Exchange from the opening bell at 8:30 a.m. Central Standard Time to 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. The London market typically moves perpendicular to the New York market. So what happens after 10 a.m. is if you are in trades and you have determined the correct direction, it's going to continue in that same direction without any reversal, because now you just have the US dollar affecting the market and things are moving in one direction. They're not moving back and forth, being pulled by traders coming from two different markets, but two different sets of interest. So it's always a good idea to take your setups in the London session, where typically the high and low of the day are set, and then ride the liquidity of the interplay between New York and London to make a lot of your take profit. Sometimes it can happen in London itself. Sometimes it happens in the United States by itself, depending on how much news is coming out. You really want to avoid trading between 10 a.m. and 2 a.m. of the next day, unless you really know what you're doing. For example, it's not very smart for most traders to attempt to try and trade during either the Sydney session or the Asian session. Because if you don't know what you're looking for, you'll get trapped in price or get trapped in some type of liquidity pool, and you end up just losing money for no reason. The name of the game really is being patient enough to wait. This is why I only take alerts and signals. Been doing this for 12 years. I kind of know what I'm looking for, and I don't get in the market unless I see what I'm looking for. And what you'll find as you advance in your trading journey is that avoiding bad trades is just as profitable as getting into trades that make you money. The goal is to preserve capital and to compound. As you compound, now you can make more money with the same effort. You don't need to win every trade. You will lose trades, but you do have to have risk to reward management. Do not ever take a trade with less than 2-to-1 risk to reward. If possible, take trades that have more than that, and take every trade that has your bias. You will win some, you will lose some. But if you're taking every trade with at least a 2-to-1 risk to reward ratio, even if you lose 66.67% of your trades, you will still be in profit. And I just showed you my metrics. I'm over 56%. I'm not a robot. I'm a real person with real trades. And all of our trades are over 2-to-1. Some of them are in excess of 4-to-1 with the reward. So we profit. If you've been trading with me the entire year and you just took 0.01, the smallest lot size that's offered on every single trade that I called this year, you'd be up about $440,000. Actually closer to $600,000, because I trade stocks and commodities and futures and a few other assets that are more heavily weighted than regular Forex currencies. So if you're trading on a US 30, for instance, that's 100 times weighted to a regular Forex currency. So taking a 0.01 on US 30 is like taking a standard on Australian dollar versus the US dollar. It's a little different. NASDAQ 100 and SPX 500, those are 10 times weighted to regular Forex currencies. So taking a 0.01 on NAS 100 or S&P 500 is like taking a 0.10 on a regular currency. And we've won multiple times in all three of those entities this year. We had 14 wins on gold last week, because not only did we trade gold versus the United States dollar, but we trade gold versus the euro and gold versus the Australian dollar. We also trade PAX G, which is a cryptocurrency perpetual trade that mirrors gold. And we also trade GC1, which is gold as a futures, and we trade MGC1, which is micro gold as a futures. So sometime if you're trading across asset classes and you catch a lick on a certain asset, you can trade on multiple asset classes and get the effect of that movement going in the direction that you want to get. And if you're working with a small account, you can use the positive equity of trades that are doing well to get into other trades. And that's how you start a flow of money coming into your account. That's not easy to do if you don't know what you're looking for. It is easy to do if you have someone that knows what they're doing. And I know what I'm doing. Not charging for this. You're welcome to join me every weekday for London and New York. Hop in and profit. We're in this ride together. All right, 9:55. We'll know in about a minute or so if we're getting any calls on the futures market. If we get nothing here, then we have the next ticker at 10 a.m., a little less than 5 minutes from now, the top of the hour, and also the closing bell of the London Stock Exchange. We normally get some plays there, and we'll see what we end up with. If you haven't already done so, I highly encourage you to subscribe to my channel. That's whether you're on YouTube, on Twitch, on Nemo TV, on Twitter, or on Kick. It's going to keep you abreast of when I go live in the market. Turn on the notifications so you know that. Sometimes I'll go live at odd times just because there's a lot of action and I want to help people that follow me benefit. But yeah. Also, if you click on the profile on any of the platforms that you're on, one of the first links should be to Telegram. That's the link to my private signals group. That way you'll get signals from when I'm not on live. I do call 24/7 because this is what I do for a living. And it's free of charge. I'm never going to put that behind a pay gate. And I've been trading for 12 years. One of the things that really annoyed me is that even though I had people that were willing to be paid for me to learn how to trade, they weren't always very adamant about helping me to profit. And that made me put one of my goals to be one of the best signal callers on the planet. And I think I am. So I paid forward because of that experience. So I certainly appreciate you for rocking with me, and look forward to seeing you in the next session. So this is me on all these different platforms. Look at this: YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Twitch, and Kick. It's the Pip Messiah on all of those. And then in terms of when we go live, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. The London session from 2 a.m. to 4 a.m. Central Standard Time. The New York session from 8:30 a.m. to 10 a.m. Central Standard Time. Every weekday. Two minutes to go to the top of the hour. 2 minutes. All right, almost showtime. About 20 seconds left to go. Let's see what we get. Something on the Australian dollar versus the Swiss franc that hit the bottom of the 1 hour entry. That's fine. All right, so we have the euro versus the Danish krona. I don't believe that's on our sell list. It is not, so we'll ignore that. We have a buy on United States dollar versus the Norwegian krone on the 1 hour. So that won't mark itself off until 11 a.m. We'll likely enter that particular trade, but it's going to bust us past this 362 pips. So I'm going to keep this in queue for the signals chats for 11 a.m. And with that, we're done for the morning. I'll see you guys back in bright and early at 2 a.m. Central Standard Time for the London session. I am the Pit Messiah, your host for the Quiet Storm New York session for November the 6th, 2025. Cheers.